Community. That word means something different to different people. It may make you think of your hometown. It makes me think of a parade downtown. Smiling children and families lining the sidewalks while fire trucks and fair royalty and marching bands parade down the street. Maybe you think of friends sharing a glass of wine and talking about their favorite books. Maybe you think of people helping their neighbor muck out her basement after a terrible flood has washed away everything she owns and left her house full of mud. Whatever that word means for you, I'm here today to propose that community is everything. And it seems like we've forgotten how we're meant to live. Somehow, in the past 250 years or so since our country was founded by communities standing up for themselves together, we've lost the notion that community is so important to our lives. I would argue the most important thing about being a human. We need community. We need community to feel good. We need community to be satisfied, fulfilled, and to be successful in so many areas of our lives. It takes a village. You've probably heard that phrase before, maybe sarcastically as someone is judging a parent who's struggling to wrangle a toddler who just can't keep it together on the playground. Maybe sincerely, if you've seen those viral videos of airline passengers stepping up to help a frazzled mom whose baby just isn't handling the flight very well. You'll see them pass the child around and take their turns trying to calm them and make them happy and keep them in line, keep them from making too much of a fuss. Community means so much to so many parts of our lives. It's everything. It really, really is. Now, I remember when I was young, we relied heavily on our neighbors. We relied on our family. The summer times were spent at my grandma's house when the school was out. And most of my spring and holiday breaks were spent at my uncle's furniture shop, where I learned the art of the sale and learned how to connect with people. I owe so much to those days. I learned a few years ago that there's a term for the way I grew up. We're called latchkey kids. That name comes from the fact that we would come home from school to an empty house. And you may have a key tied around your neck, or in our case, hidden on the front porch so that you could get in, because your parents were still at work and wouldn't be home for a while. Now, there's a lot of thought, the positives and negatives of that type of upbringing, but for me, I think it instituted a sense of independence and self-reliance that's been beneficial to me from an early age. It also helped impact my career path. Coming home and getting dinner ready for my family and feeling the way I felt when my family enjoyed when I managed to take a hamburger helper dinner and turn it into a Hawaiian barbecue hamburger helper dinner stuck with me. It led me toward culinary arts and the hospitality industry. It really did. We relied heavily on that village. And if it weren't for that village, I wouldn't have had many of the opportunities and experiences that I did as a young person. Unfortunately, many people who especially live in urban areas, they don't even know their neighbors. They don't have that to fall back on. And I'm reminded of that loss of that type of community when there's a snow day or an Arctic Academy day now for our children. We pay for snow day care for our 2 kids. Don't get me wrong, we have lots of close friends who would be willing to help out and watch our kids if they could, and vice versa. But we're all going to work. The majority of our friends and family are in dual-income houses. So we're all struggling in the same way to find that snow day care. Building relationships for our personal lives is vital, but it's also important to build relationships in our professional lives. Networking is the single most important factor for success in business, in my opinion. And yet, many people these days work completely remotely. They don't have any connection. They don't have any contact or relationships with their coworkers. That's hard to believe. It's hard to imagine. It's who you know, not what you know, is a cliche that rings true for many in my generation and for the generations before us, but doesn't seem to connect so much for some of the younger people these days. They're sort of used to being a little more loners. I can't imagine a job search process that I've been a part of that didn't at some point involve a favorable introduction or a referral from someone I know. That's why those references are on job applications. Hires want to know what other people think about you as a person and as an employee. But how is that possible if you don't have connections with the people you work with? If you've ever worked or will ever work in a large organization, say for instance an educational institution, you know, or you'll find out soon enough, that much of your ability to be productive and get things done relies on the help of other people and knowing who those people are that you need to contact when there's a problem. Sometimes there's a mayor. They know everything. There's only one person you need to know. But many times there are specific people who can help with specific problems. If you don't know who to call, your life is going to be so much more difficult. It really is. Getting to know your coworkers, your colleagues, and what they do and how you can help one another helps you form alliances, friendships, and can help you all navigate the sometimes murky waters of working in a large organization. It's very, very important. We are not an island. No man is an island. The excerpt from John Donne's Meditations compares humanity with a continent and compares loss with the ocean crashing against the shores and eroding away the earth. Donne asserts that we are all interconnected in this greater human collective, and the loss of even one human is harmful to the entirety of humanity. And unfortunately, we're losing people like never before. In a recent survey from the Center on American Life, 52% of Americans reported feeling lonely. In a survey done this year by the Student Government Association at WVU, the same percentage of students said they feel that way. They feel as though they don't know how to network. They don't know how to make friends. In the survey from the Center on American Life, 58% of the respondents said that they feel like no one really knows them well. The same percentage of respondents said they eat every meal alone. Can you imagine? Breaking bread together is the most important way that we can connect as humans. Think of the weddings, the funerals, the first dates, the events, the fellowship dinners. That's where I met my wife, at a fellowship dinner with friends. Eating together is so important. There have been books written about it. Keith Fergazzi's book, Never Eat Alone, tells us, and in that book, he tells us that that's his biggest secret for business success and growing relationships. Never eat alone. Don't miss the opportunity to share a meal with someone. It's wasteful. Never eat alone. And yet, so many people do. And so many people are feeling alone. That survey for American Life, their respondents, 1 in 6 men, said that they felt like they don't have any close friends. We are losing men almost 4 times as much as women when it comes to taking their own lives. There is a noted and nicknamed friendship recession happening right now in our society among men. They say they don't have any close friends. They don't have anyone to talk to. They can't call anyone when they need help. So what's happening? Why is it? Why do we not have these close relationships anymore? There's a lot of research, again, around this topic, but I think it's pretty simple. We just don't put ourselves out there like we used to. We aren't seeking the opportunities that we used to get involved in the community and to make these friends. In his recent parting prescription for America, the outgoing Surgeon General, Vivek Murthy, tells us that community, a sense of community, is the greatest indicator in life satisfaction and in life expectancy. It's how we get to know each other. It's how we help each other. It's how we find purpose and contributing to one another's lives. So what do we do? Guess what? Another big part of that was COVID-19. The forced isolation, the forced quarantines, the loneliness that we felt from that, I think we'll probably be seeing the results of that for decades to come. The biggest thing for me, though, is that we've simply gotten used to being alone. We don't have to leave the house anymore. We can get our groceries. We can get all of our personal needs. We can order a hot meal without ever talking to another person or seeing another person. We've just gotten used to that. My son started school remotely. His first ever day of kindergarten was spent at our kitchen table on a Zoom meeting on a computer. I think that it'll probably be decades before we really understand the impacts of that. But you know there are, right? There have to be. That isolation, the break that we saw in socialization and in education, it's going to be years to come before we really understand the full impact. So, it can't be all doom and gloom. What can we do? I think we have to go back to nature. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Open your door. Greet a stranger. I know that can be difficult because they probably have their headphones in and their head down. But try it. Put yourself out there. Go outside. Get a dog. That's how my wife and I met the majority of our neighbors. We lived in our neighborhood for months without much interaction until we adopted a dog. And walking him around, we met everyone. We made strong connections and friends that are still friends to this day just by getting out there. Join a club, a bowling league. Invite people over to your house. Who cares if it's messy? Theirs is too. They don't care. There are things that we can do. We can make a choice to build community. Rebuilding community, as with solving most problems, starts with admitting there is a problem. Folks, we have a problem. We're sad. We're lonely. Some people are scared to go out. We're divided. We're fractured as a society. But we have a prescription to cure what ails us. In Dr. Murphy's parting prescription for America, he doesn't say anything about over-the-counter supplements. He doesn't prescribe injections of any kind. He doesn't mention any prescription medication. He says we need to turn toward each other instead of away from one another. We can choose the path of health and joy and connection. His parting wish for us and my plea to you today: choose community. It's everything. Thank you.